Hey guys, the Super Review Show for an episode of Why You Should Listen To. This is a show where I break down artists on Spotify that have low Spotify streaming numbers, or the artist is just that incredible. You should definitely check out this artist no matter what. And here we are today talking about Simon and Garfunkel. Quick backstory. The only reason why I'm doing this video now is because I literally was just on Spotify listening to Simon and Garfunkel. Like I said, there's an idea. Let's do why you should listen to. And here we are. Simon and Garfunkel only released 5 albums over the course of the 60s. They are, Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel are two of the best collabs, kind of like Lennon-McCartney, like Jagger and Richards, like Townsend, and somewhat of Roger Daltrey to an extent, from The Who, or like, they're more folk than they are classic rock, but they're still rock to it, to a good extent. Like Bridge Over Troubled Water, that song is incredible. The Boxer, Unfortunately, I say unfortunately for a reason, but unfortunately, The Sound of Silence is a meme. It's like, hello, darkness, my old friend. Someone's going to make a meme out of that right there. But it's just, I don't know. Their music is truly timeless. Homeward Bound, another one. Paul Simon and Art Garfunkel, Paul Simon wrote some really great songs, and Art Garfunkel's harmonies with Paul Simon were just untouchable to a great extent in the late 60s. It was just incredible music. Paul Simon's a New Yorker, and Art Garfunkel's a New Yorker. They actually reunited at one point for a concert in Central Park at one point. Central Park, New York City. And because after the Bridge Over Troubled Water album, they broke up. And Paul Simon had a very successful career as a solo artist during the 70s and into the early 80s too, to an extent, with Late in the Evening and Me and Julio was 72. What's one I can't think of? You Can Call Me Al. Great song. But back to Simon and Garfunkel, though. Simon and Garfunkel is just so iconic. Like, Paul Simon's lyrics and Art Garfunkel's harmonies, I don't use this word often when I do videos like this, but it's magic. It was pure magic when the two of them were together for those 5 albums that they did together. And they just made pure, incredible music. In general, just everything from, like I said, from Paul Simon's lyrics to Art Garfunkel's harmonies with Paul Simon, and just how you can make an acoustic guitar and make some orchestrations in the background feel just incredible. Like the song "The Boxer" it starts off with that guitar lick, like right, and then the story, then it builds up a little bit. It's some of the best folk, like classic folk rock I've ever heard. And more than Bob Dylan, more than like Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska, much more than that. Because I'm gonna be honest with you guys, I enjoy Bob Dylan's music. That sounds like a very unpopular opinion, but I actually do quite a bit. I don't listen to it every day, but I listen to some of his stuff, Shelter from the Storm, Hurricane, things like that, and like a Rolling Stone, of course. But his folk music is actually very solid. But I also Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska and The Ghost of Tom Jones and stuff like that, those albums are very spare, dark, just acoustic guitar and harmonica records. I love those records, don't get me wrong. I love those two artists quite a bit. But there's something very special about Simon and Garfunkel, specifically the two of them when they were together as making the albums they made. It was just a truly mesmerizing, magical thing that they did together in the New York City area, of course, and across the world. And it's funny, quick backstory. I mentioned Bridge Over Troubled Water, the title track to that album. That was the number 1 hit. The reason why it was the number 1 hit because Clive Davis. I don't really talk about music industry stuff at all on the Super Review Show. I might do that soon, actually. Clive Davis, very famous story. Clive Davis said, "Hey, why don't you release Bridge Over Troubled Water as the single?" And Paul Simon and Garfunkel are like, why would we release that one as a single? And if you listen to the song, you're like, why is this one a single? And sure enough, Clive Davis was right. Clive said, it's a number 1 hit record. And it was a number 1 hit record for them. And it was, unfortunately, the last album they made. But it was just so pure. You want to get into 60s music that's very, ominous. That's very dark. If you, not everyone did. There's people you watch on our channel that did not like Taylor Swift's Folklore and Evermore. I'm not going to name names, but there are people who didn't like them. And if you listen to Simon and Garfunkel, if you're not a fan of folk music, I don't even recommend listening to them, truthfully. But if you're looking to branch out of your comfort zone of music, try this artist specifically first, because you want to go back to where it all kind of started with the folk boom in the 60s, and this is one of the artists that did it. And then go to Bob Dylan, then go to like John Mellencamp, early John Mellencamp, like or Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska, Bob Dylan's Blood on the Tracks. I'm trying to think of what else. Even to an extent, like just music that sounds very folk-like. Try that, but try this first. Don't. When I tell people to listen to music, that they say, "Oh, I've never heard of this album." I say, "All right, listen. Don't do this first. If you're looking to get into the genre of folk music, start with Simon and Garfunkel, then go to Bob Dylan, and then go to Bruce Springsteen after that. When specifically Bruce Springsteen's Nebraska and Ghost of Tom Joad. Not really like any other, because the rest of his albums are more like rock or pop rock for the most part, or not folk rock, but just piano rock for the most part. Like, if you listen to Simon and Garfunkel first, you'll understand, and you might branch out to like other artists around that time period too, like some obscure artists too that I can't even think of truthfully. But yeah, Simon and Garfunkel is one of those artists that truly will they'll be played on the radio for a long time. But I guess oldies stations to an extent. I don't think they'd be played on like adult contemporary. I think Paul Simon would. I don't think Simon and Garfunkel would. But this is a really great artist to get into. If you've never heard of them, get on it. They are two of the best to ever put music on record. In my honest, objective opinion, they are some of the best to ever do it. So, regardless, that's why I think you should listen to Simon and Garfunkel. Just an all-around great folk music people that just really put, like, man, it's crazy. Like, they did a really great job with their music, and they just timeless music, and that metal. I don't know what it might have been Disturbed. I forget the metal band that did it. They did a cover of The Sound of Silence. And it's a very, very like orchestral driven guitar, like metal, almost metal rock version. It was on like the Late Show with not the Late Show, Conan O'Brien, that show, Team Coco, whatever it was. It was on that show there. It was on YouTube. You can check that out too. It's an incredible performance they did there. But it's like, it's crazy though. It's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful song though. The Sound of Silence. Yes, it was a meme, but if you take away the meme aspect, it's a powerful song. Wednesday, and the album is called Wednesday Morning at 3 a.m. Very, very incredible song. Dark lyrics. Just some of the best to ever do it, in my opinion. So, for those reasons and more, that's why I think you should listen to Simon and Garfunkel. Thanks for watching this video. Like, comment, subscribe, hit the bell for notifications. Don't forget to follow us on our social media pages as well, simply at The Super Review Show. But for all of your why you should listen to is keep it locked on The Super Review Show. The J-Man, off to rock. We'll see you guys later.